Welcome to Gear Science. Today I'm going to go over all the control settings and what each one does. Next, I'll show the pros and cons of each control scheme. Be sure to stick around to the end when I show some tips and tricks. Now before we get started, these are my settings, but make sure you use whatever's right for you. Alright, now the look sensitivity is pretty straightforward. It's how fast you can spin your camera while you're not aiming. Now target sensitivity is how fast you're able to turn your camera while you are aiming your weapon. Now zoom sensitivity is how fast you can turn your camera while you're fully zoomed in. You do this by clicking the right analog stick in. This really only applies to snipers and pistols. The default sensitivity is so slow that it's hard to find enemies behind you. You should really use the highest sensitivity that feels comfortable to you. This will also help you with wall bouncing and other high-speed activities.
Target my mark! Move down!
For the purpose of showing off all these different sliders, I'm going to go ahead and set everything to the lowest sensitivity. Alright, so we're going to start with aim acceleration. This is how fast your camera reaches maximum turn speed. And generally you should keep this as high as you can. The inner dead zone. This basically defines how far you have to push your right stick before you get a response. Now if you set it to a lower value, that's going to give you more precision for aiming your weapon and sniping. Now you can also see that at a high value, it makes it so that I had to push the stick a little bit further before it actually responds. Now the outer dead zone is a little bit harder to actually show off, but here's how it works. Push your stick all the way to the edge. The outer dead zone represents how far you have to push it before it's considered all the way. Inverting the y-axis means that when you push your stick down, your camera looks up and vice versa. Inverting the x-axis means looking left and right will be swapped instead. Toggle primary is kind of a neat feature. You can press the same direction and it'll swap regardless. Now the last one is omnidirectional roll. So if this feature is turned on, that means you can roll in any direction, regardless of the angle. But if the feature is turned off, you can only roll forward, backwards, left and right.
Keep them coming!
Alright, so now we're going to go over the different control schemes, and I'm going to kind of show you that the default control scheme really isn't the best scheme for most players. Now the reason that I say that is because the A button is such an important button in Gears of War. You use it for your cover, you use it to dodge and roll, and really you need to be able to press the A button and use the right stick at the same time so you can keep looking around. That's where the tournament control scheme comes in. Now this is going to swap your A button and your left bumper. This means that you're going to be able to move around, bounce, strafe, do whatever you want to do, while you keep your right thumb on that right stick, which is so important. There's also Tournament Alt. This splits the normal functions from the A button into two different buttons. The left bumper is just used for cover now, and the X button is used for both roadie run and dodge. Now this scheme is really great for high precision wall bouncing. You can pretty much just keep mashing this button and you're not going to roll because you misjudge your distance. The last control scheme we're going to look at is Classic Alt. This is very similar to the Tournament Alt control scheme. The difference is that you use the normal A button for cover. If you use an Elite controller or any other controller with paddles, this is my recommended setting.
Eyes on target!
Where you go? We ain't done yet.
Now next we're going to talk about swapping weapons while under fire. Now I'll start by saying that when you roadie run, you don't need to push the stick forward. Depending on which control scheme you use, one of your thumbs should be totally free to swap weapons. This means that as soon as you come out of roadie run, the weapon will be swapped. To keep moving while you do this, make sure you roll or use cover.
Target my mark! That's north!
You can also swap during the roll or just before you enter roadie run. Don't forget that you can mantle over cover by pressing the melee button as you run at it. You can also do it from a standstill by pressing the melee button immediately after pressing the cover button. Mantle and cover can also be used to kick an opponent on the other side. Don't forget that you can execute them after you've done this. You can also block a kick by pressing your melee button.
Get over here!
You can also pull an opponent over cover.
Contact!
So that's going to do it for this tutorial, but I just wanted to remind you that Gears of War has so much hidden depth below the surface. You just have to know how to find it, and step 1 is knowing how to use the controls. If you like the things you've seen in this video and you want to learn more, you can follow the links on your screen, or better yet, subscribe.
How the hell did I run out? There you go! Level up!